Hey guys, I got an incredible episode in store for you today. This person, one of my favorite people, is the first person to be on the podcast 3 times. And we're going to talk about some incredible things and why it's so important to have options in life. You don't want to miss this one. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Justin Ford podcast, where I'll be releasing life-changing principles and valuable information focused on all things faith, finance, family, fitness, real estate, and so much more. Let's go! What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Justin Ford podcast. I'm super excited to be with you here again today, and I hope you've been doing great since the last episode. If you're loving the show, do me a favor, go ahead and hit the subscribe button here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. And if you're really loving the show, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review or reach out to us. We absolutely love hearing your feedback on how this show is impacting you and helping you in your journey. If you haven't followed me yet on social media, you can at the official Justin Ford. Again, at the official Justin Ford. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, X, and also here on YouTube. And before we get into today's episode, and I'm so excited to have an amazing guest in the studio, I do want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Nextdoor Lending. Nextdoor Lending is a team of professionals that believe everyone should be treated as if they lived next door. The founders and team members have more than 150 years of combined loan experience helping clients all over the country choose the best loan program to help you accomplish your goals. Nextdoor Lending is currently licensed in over 26 states and has a team of over 100 loan officers specializing in helping you get the best rate and terms. And so whether you're looking to refinance your home or you're looking to purchase your next home, call my friends over at Nextdoor Lending today at 888-885-3667 or visit their website at nextdoorlending.com. Again, excited to have a special guest here in the studio, and she's not new to the show. Matter of fact, she is the first person to ever be invited back for the 3rd time. Please help me welcome friend, coach, mentor, and the head coach of development over at GloverU, my friend, Kate Simon.
Thank you.
Welcome back. First person to be back 3 times.
I know. What did I do to get that honor?
It's just you being you. Yeah.
Okay.
And because you have so much to offer our audience, that it's always great to have you on the show. Because not only I'm sure do they benefit from hearing you, but I do too. Yeah, I grow every time that you're on the show. And I just missed having you on the show because I know we don't technically coach together anymore. I coach with Kathy, so I'm like, you know what? Let me invite Kate on the show. Maybe I can get a free coaching session.
I'm down.
Yeah. Absolutely. How's life since, because I think you were here, what you said last April, 2 Aprils ago. So not this April, but 2023.
Yeah, it was about a year and a half ago.
You had just had your youngest daughter. So now you have 2 in that age group of 2 and 3. How's that going? Because I know that's not easy.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a lot.
Well, okay. So my answer is going to be in the context of Andrew was actually just in Illinois all week for work.
Oh, wow.
So fortunately he got back. He got back last night at like 11.
Mm-hmm.
It was a tough week.
Yeah.
But it's good. People always told me that it doesn't get easier, it gets different.
Yeah.
And like, that's true for sure. Like we're going through a phase where both of them, for whatever reason, just don't want to wear clothes. Yeah. And like running around the house naked and like all the side stories that come because of that. And it's just like, my life from post work until bedtime is, I call it rush hour of the day. It's like you got to feed the kids, bathe them, wear your clothes, let's go to bed. It's just don't fight, The other night, so I'm trying to get both of these children to bed, right, by myself, which I feel like kids sense it. Like when you start to, you get anxious and they like feed off of that.
Yeah.
Because Scarlett, so I have this this is a random story, but I have this like pool noodle in my bedroom. Mm-hmm. It's small because I was doing PT for a while and I needed it for PT. And so Scarlett decided to pick up this pool noodle and start just like whacking Nora with it as we're trying to go to bed. I'm like, what the heck's going on? So I grab it, I throw it. I'm like, we're done, right? Yeah. And she like gets off the bed and stomps like out of the room and she says, I'm going to go call Dad. And I'm like, who do you think hired him?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
so funny.
It's fun. It's a lot though.
It's
good. It's good.
And what's funny is I've been, I've been seeing the journey for you, right? Because I remember, post or pre-kids, right?
Yeah.
Versus where you are now.
Oh my goodness.
And it's funny because, when people have their first kid, they're like, oh my gosh, how do you enjoy have 4 kids? And it's like, then you have a second one, and then, you start to grow your family. And like you said, it's different, right? There's adjustments along the way. You have to figure it out. But that's that 2 and 3 year old age is a fun age. Cause we had, when we had Tiara, Emilio was 3 and Angelina was 6. And so we had 3 kind of young kids at the same time.
Yeah.
And, and I think people underestimate, especially, all of those dynamics, right? I mean, even for me, Joy was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and I'd come home and she'd be all stressed or, long day. And I'm like, what'd you do all day?
I know.
You're just at home with the kids.
I know.
And then I remember when we had Judah, and I was in transition to actually getting my real estate license and starting with Jeff.
Yeah.
So there was a month where I was home with the kids, taking them to school, picking them up while she was working. And it gave me such a perspective and helped me appreciate the role of a mom.
It's so hard.
Oh man, it's
I tell people, I think before I had kids, I don't know if I had like a vision of being a full-time stay-at-home mom, but I know I wanted to be more involved, more present. But after I was home for my first maternity leave with Scarlett, I was like, I could not do this full time because it's not 9 to 5 or 8 to 6, whatever. It's 24/7 and the evenings and the weekends.
It's nonstop.
And, although there's like so much joy that comes out of those early years, it very much, and I know you and Joy know this, it is 95% giving.
Yeah.
And it's only when they get a little bit older that there's some reciprocity when they feel like it, when all the stars are aligned. But for the most part, it is you pouring into parenting. Like you don't get the same, fulfillment in that sense. It's fulfilling in a different way. But I've told people, I'm like, I am not built to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
It's
some
incredibly
people,
challenging.
Yeah, and some people aren't,
Yeah.
But that's where that support and that help comes in, right?
Yeah.
To be able to have other people that can support and help you, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So you have 2.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to have any more?
No.
So you're done.
We're done.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's good. You got to know where to stop at. And, we just made the decision. I mean, I made the decision a long time ago, but, after Judah, turned 10, Joy had like a 10-year IUD. And so she's like, we have to make a decision. Are we going to have any more kids? I said, don't even finish the sentence. We're not having any more kids, right?
Yeah.
So like it's official. Like we're never having any more kids, I'm not.
Yeah, but you're a grandfather.
I know. That's what I was saying.
Right?
There's no
so
way I can have.
But you get to relive the good moments and go home at the end of the day.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's no way I could have a kid younger than my grandkids.
Yeah. I mean, if one person was going to do it, it's going to be you, right? But
No way.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah,
No, but so it's that's cool though. I'm excited for you guys. And there's it's interesting how our seasons are totally different. Like you've got a 2 and 3 year old at home, and we just sent 2 kids off to college.
I know.
And even having grandkids, and we're only a handful of years apart, you and I. So it's like it's cool to see the dynamics of other people and where they are in life, and that process of raising kids and all the fun stuff that comes with it.
I feel like I got this like really cool opportunity through coaching because I coach a lot of people who are my age or older, and they've been through those seasons of life. Like I have a handful of clients now who are like in the same chapter that I'm in, but for the most part, especially before I had kids, I'm coaching people who are parents. They've been married for a long time. They've done the business. They're successful, and they're sort of coming back to me and saying like, I have these regrets that I wish I could redo. And I mean, it didn't take me long, but like you hear that enough from people on the phone where like you make a decision when you're walking through that chapter and you're like, every single person I've talked to has always said that you won't regret spending more quality time with your kids.
Right.
And so I feel like I have that advantage where even though I love my job, like I get so much fulfillment out of what I do. I have all the testaments of the people who have come before me to like lovingly remind me inadvertently, don't miss these moments. Yeah. Right. And so
And it's good.
I feel like I've gotten that advantage.
Yeah. And that's so important, right? Because you don't know what you don't know unless, because I think it's easy because like you said, not that you're not being fulfilled in a certain way of raising your kids in this stage, but you're receiving also fulfillment in coaching and your job. And so I think a lot of times we pursue that fulfillment, in work and other things because maybe we don't see it the same way how we're raising our kids or the stage that they're in. But it's good to really have that feedback, especially when you have many people that are saying the same thing. Right. Kind of puts things into a different perspective and allows you to kind of, be more present, alert, and really conscious about that season in your life at that moment.
Yeah. And I honestly, it also helps me appreciate work too.
For sure.
And not that, I feel lucky, like ever since being aligned with GloverU, not to say that there's not stressful days, but like there's never been a day or a week where I'm like, this isn't for me, right? Like I wake up excited to do what I do.
Which is awesome.
And having the contrast of, going home, like when I'm home, I'm mom, right? I'm mom, I'm hungry, bath, whatever. But like when I'm working, I get to be Kate Simon and like I get to, work creatively and help people and get that feedback from them that like, hey, the work you're doing matters. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it definitely like fills my soul to that capacity. Yeah. But there's that other side where, I still get to get that in motherhood too. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. What is it about coaching that fulfills you the most?
Oh man.
Cause you do, and I don't say this just cause you're on the show and I mean this with my whole heart. Like you're the best of the best. Like you know how to coach someone and and this is obviously what good coaches do, but you know how to draw out things out of people and really help them go to another level. And you do it so well. But what is it that fulfills you to keep showing up, to keep doing that, to be able to say, although I've had hard days, I've never had a day to say, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. You're a great example of it, right? And I know that, we've shared our kind of coaching journey in the past, but when you have somebody on the other end of the phone who is a willing participant to what you have to offer, which to me, I believe it's my gift, right? Yeah. It feels like an immense honor to be able to see something in somebody, or like, for instance, it could be you, it could be somebody where it's like, you're stuck and you might not be able to articulate where you're stuck and why you're stuck. And I'm not foolproof at this, but I have a pretty decent ability to like go in, ask a few questions and be like, got it. I know where you're stuck. I know where there's, a blockage, and let's talk about this to help create that flow in your life so that you can go get the things that you want to get. And I don't know. I think that helping somebody see something in themselves or experience a level of life that was off the table for them is the coolest thing. Yeah.
And to see that actually become a reality.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, like, sometimes I joke, right? Like I have a friend, a really good friend of mine. She's an eye surgeon. She's a physician, right? And she was talking to me 2 weeks ago. And she didn't really want to talk about it at first, which is okay. But she said she got out of like a really bad surgery. And so she does eye surgery. And the long and the short of it was the patient that came to her had this wasn't like on the physician at all, but like there was something going on with her eyes to the point where she was coming to my friend to see like, is there anything you can do? But ultimately it was a 25-year-old girl. She's going to be blind for the rest of her life. And she had a really, really hard time with that. And I'm like, man, thank gosh that we like, it's real estate, right? We don't do surgery. Like nobody's dying on our table. Nobody is making these negative life altering decisions. But I think what I love about coaching is we get somebody who has the want, the need, and the desire, and they just don't know what the next step forward is. And being able to help somebody craft that path and walk towards it to positively change their life in whatever direction they want to, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And I know we've talked about it in the past. And so, but for those maybe that didn't hear episode 1 or 2, I highly recommend go back and listen to episode 1 and 2. How did that become a part of what you do? Because you started off as a real estate agent, right? Yeah. You started selling homes, you moved to Malibu, you were selling homes there. And you talked about this on our coaches call on Wednesday, which I want to kind of go deeper into some of that. But, you had talked about how you went out there because you wanted to be surrounded by possibility at a higher level. You wanted to be exposed to things at a higher level. And yet then you had the opportunity to come and be a coach with GloverU and really kind of help Jeff get GloverU off the ground and bring it to where it is today. Like what changed from, hey, I'm not going to sell real estate anymore to, hey, I want to coach. Like, was that desire to impact people and help people always there?
Totally.
It was? Okay.
Totally.
And
like,
then
I
this
remember
just became that opportunity to do it.
I remember in 2011, 2012, like, so I have a degree in psychology, and I've always been really fascinated about like the human experience, you know, where like what we can tweak, what we can change, right? Because largely like our experience out there in the world is 99% our perception of it, right? And so if we're experiencing life a certain way, if we're experiencing people a certain way, if we are going through life with a certain set of glasses on and it doesn't feel good to us, we have the power up here to change that. Now that's hard because if we're stuck in a victim mindset, which we all get to, right? Like there is no absolute, I'm not a victim or I am a victim. It's just a matter of how much are we playing into that and feeding that thought, right?
Right.
But it's hard to get to the place where you actually get to make the decision to change how you feel, how you think. Are you going to be offended? Are you going to be like all of those are choices based on what we're choosing to see in a given very subjective moment, right?
Yeah.
And I became fascinated at like what keeps people there. What are the people doing that get past that and decide to completely change their life, not because the world around them changed, but because how they are perceiving the world around them changed. And so I've always been passionate about that. And even in like 2012, 2013, my passion, like I had this like pipe dream and I don't know if this is ever going to come to fruition, but this is why you're the last host was exciting to me is like, I want to pour into kids and I want to pour into kids at a level where like I can teach them that everything they want out there, they have in here. Right. And like they have the tools to decide, is this a good day? Is this a bad day? Right. And so I try to practice that with Scarlett. It's hard. Like, hey, like you have a choice here. What choice do you want to make? Right. Like you have a choice on how this goes. What choice do you want to make? And really like reaffirm that we are the co-creators of the experience we're having. Nobody's doing to us. Right. And so I've always been passionate about that. And I think a lot of it really started with just my own like mental health struggles of like feeling down. And there was a point in college where I was like depressed. I was like depressed, like wasn't really willing to get out of bed. Like there was classes I was taking that I was struggling with that I just like opted to fail. Like I opted to take whatever it was because first of all, I was out of alignment. I was doing what I thought I should do, which at the time was, well, you know, I want to help people and I want to help people to a high level. So I want to be a doctor. Like for a while I went to college to be a doctor. And you know, of course your undergrad, it's all science classes. And like by the fifth, you know, chemistry class, I'm like, this is the worst thing I've ever done. Like, I don't know if you've ever taken chemistry, but like I've taken 5 chemistry classes, physics classes, biology. And I'm like, this is the worst I've ever done. Right. Like this is horrible. Right. And it wasn't until I aligned with Jeff where I was like, wow, I can help people in a different way. It doesn't have to just be that lane. Right. But that was all I was exposed to.
Sure.
And so this is where part of the passion of exposure to things outside of what we know becomes so important. It's because we know the end result of how we want to feel when we're doing something. And so if you take a physician, for instance, well, you want to make a difference, you want to help alter somebody's lives, you want to pour into them, you want to care for them. What am I doing as a coach?
Right.
And to be clear, I'm not saying I'm a doctor, right? But like that's the essence.
It's a very similar, the desire is the same.
Correct. Yeah. This becomes to goal setting. It becomes to like creating visions. Like a lot of us don't spend enough time asking ourselves, what is the essence at the core of what I want? Right? What am I after if I'm a doctor? Like what is at the core of me wanting to be a physician? And it's like, okay, to help people to have, you know, high income, you know, whatever that is. And then be willing to ask yourself, are there other paths to the essence that I'm trying to chase?
Right.
And when you're able to ask that question about whatever it is you want and desire, you're able to see and be open to the other options that get you there. Yeah. And sometimes in a better way than you imagined.
Yeah. And the perception, like you said, changes, right? You begin to see things a little bit different.
Yeah.
Which is good. I want to go back to something that you said. You had said something along the lines of, helping people to change their perception because everybody perceives things through their experiences.
Yeah.
And how hard it is to, because if you're raised a certain way, you have all these things that kind of happen to you as a child.
Sure.
Which, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of our perception comes from how we were raised, right?
Yeah.
What we were exposed to growing up. And then we become adults and we go out into the real world and we see the world through this lens of experience, up until that point. How does somebody really begin to change that perception or perspective? Because I think it's easy, and this will kind of talk about, go into what you were talking about on Wednesday's coaching call was, that you almost find, and I heard somebody say this one time, is people that are depressed a lot of times stay depressed because in some way, shape, or form, they're comfortable being there because that's all they know. So the minute they kind of get out of depression, it doesn't feel normal anymore. Now they're like, now what?
Yeah,
and you said this about success on Wednesday, where you said a lot of times people, like, so let's say you're coaching people, you're helping people to get to this possibility of where they want to be.
Yeah.
But then they kind of slide back or fall back into where they were before they got to where you were kind of helping them to go because they don't know how to keep going.
Yeah.
And they kind of slide back into whatever it is that was keeping them where they are, where they were before you started working with them. How do you get someone? I know that was a lot right there.
Yeah.
But like, how do you dissect that and help somebody? Because I think in order for someone to change their perception or perspective, they have to be willing to, because not everybody's willing to change their reality.
Well, and this is, by the way, there is a lot there, and there's a couple different angles we could take. But the first one that's coming to my mind is, how do you go from a state where life is happening to you,
right,
I am depressed, to somebody who experiences depression, right? Like, I am a human being with autonomy in my choices, autonomy in what I expose myself to, autonomy to the help I get or don't get, right? The environment that I surround myself or don't surround myself, and what is my role in the current life I'm living. And there's a lot of people that the challenge becomes for somebody to own that, like everything around you, whether it's good, bad, ugly, you are a co-creator of, right? Like, and this gets touchy when we talk about extreme situations, such as like we'll say an abusive marriage, right? Or drugs or alcohol, or like a really big tragedy, right? And I want to be careful when I say, because a lot of times when I say like you're a co-creator of your experience, the knee-jerk reaction is, oh, really? Like, you think I chose to be with somebody who physically hurts me? You think I chose to be cheated on? And no, right? Like, the result, do I think you want the result? No.
Right.
But somewhere along the line, you did.
Yeah.
You chose
to stay,
to accept less than you deserve.
Yeah.
You chose, right? Because those situations don't just happen. Like, and I suppose they could, but like, you don't wake up one day and all of a sudden this person is abusive, for instance. There's the undercutting comments. There's the, let me see your phone. There's like the precursors too that build up to, this is a physically abusive relationship. And so you ignored those.
Yeah. Or I was going to say, or along the way you saw red flags.
And you chose not to. And you have to ask yourself, what in me chose to ignore this and for what? And a lot of times, at the core of a lot of this is self-worth, right? And I know we're talking about one instance, but it exists in all of this, right? Like, whenever we're in a scenario where we are tolerating that we are less excited about, it's because the payoff that we get in the short term fills a bucket in us, fills self-worth in us. But the challenge is we don't want to look down the road at how continuously making that decision or staying or staying depressed, not getting the help. We don't want to look at what that's going to do for our life, but we especially don't want to acknowledge that we're choosing it, right? And it goes back to that saying, like, whatever we're not changing, we're choosing.
Yeah. So why is it so hard for someone to recognize that and change it at that moment versus, I'll give you an example. Handful of years ago, probably 7-8 years ago, I was in a business relationship where I saw some red flags. and ignored them, and it cost me, right, a lot of problems in the end. But I had to, and I did this. I had to say, you know what? The red flags were there. The signs were there. Why didn't I see that? Because although I can say, woe is me, because I'm now going through this problem could have been prevented.
Yeah.
So why do people ignore those things and not take action when they have the opportunity?
Because what was on the other side of that for you? And obviously I don't know the context, and obviously if you want to share, you can, but like, what was on the other side of the potential there was such an unmet need for you that you were willing to take the risk.
Yeah.
It was such an unmet need that you're like, I know that this road doesn't look great. And there's a red flag there, but there's a pot of gold that I've never had. And I have such an insatiable desire for that pot of gold. My heart and soul needs that pot of gold. And so if I have to pick up a red flag along the way, I'm going to do it. It's not that you didn't see the red flag. It's that what was at the end of the road for you was so valuable to you.
Right.
That you were willing to do that to get there. And this is where like, I'm super passionate about like healing your trauma, like understanding what that thing is for you. And it's not because it's not important. It's not because it's stupid or you shouldn't be thinking about those things. It's like, we got to understand where that unmet need is. Find a way to reconcile that, heal, so that you can make informed decisions, not from a wounded place. Because when we're making decisions from a wounded place, you're going to shortchange integrity. You're going to shortchange your standards. You're going to shortchange your boundaries because it feels good what you get on the other side of it. Wow.
Yeah. Because you just put it into perspective. I mean, you could relate this to anybody. Like, I'm going to So when Kenny was on the show, I said the same thing. Like, the guy who's sitting under the viaduct because he's addicted and lost everything, if he would have known that first, drug or alcohol or whatever was going to lead him to that, he would have never have done it, right? But but there was something along the way that this person kept pursuing this, even though they knew it was wrong, and they were willing to take the risk because of the need it was meeting for the moment. It could be the same thing of why someone creeps on their spouse and cheats on them. They know that it's wrong. They know there's a risk, but whatever they're getting out of that, they're like, I need this need more than the risk. But then they find themselves getting caught, losing everything, losing their family. Now they're in this, and it's like, it was that taking that risk.
Yeah.
Wow. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it, this is like, it could be a tangent conversation with it, but there is like such a discomfort as a society for us to sit with and accept disappointment and hard things. And for a lot of us,
and take responsibility for it.
Take responsibility for sure.
That's
right.
Hard.
Like that's hard. That's another episode. Right. But there are some realities that some of us have, and it doesn't really even matter the external circumstances. Like, you could grow up homeless, like you said, under a bridge, and there could be somebody else who's in an upper middle class family who has, emotionally neglectful parents, and their experience of being neglected is the same.
Yeah.
The external circumstances are different, but their internal experience of what that feels like is the same. And so that's why when people are like, oh, you had it so good, not me personally, but like, oh, you had it so good, what are your problems? It's like, you don't know what somebody experiences out there. Right. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Right. And so there's a unwillingness in our culture to be uncomfortable and to sit with whatever pain we have. Yeah. And it's scary. People, I don't know why, right? But it could feel like, am I going to drown in this pain? Am I not going to see the other side? But the choosing of the drugs, the choosing of the, cheating on your spouse, the choosing of the, I'm going to chase the money instead of this, like, that's where we have to ask ourselves, like, why can't I just sit in the suck?
Yeah.
And by the way, who would I become if I actually got good at this, right? Like, how unstoppable would I be? Not if I kept chasing the thing out there, but if I actually got more comfortable sitting in the discomfort. And like, as a society, we are constantly looking for the path of least resistance.
Yep.
We are constantly chasing what feels good. We're constantly chasing what will give us the highest ROI with the least amount of effort and energy. And that's in our relationships, that's in our self-work, that's in our fitness, that's in our money.
Right.
And we don't realize that who we're really cheating there is ourself.
Yeah.
Because every single time we take the path of least resistance, we're losing the muscle to do hard things. And so when real hard things come that matter, we lose the skill to actually deal with them.
Yeah.
Because the last time something hard happened, we took the easy road. And then the last time something hard happened, we distracted ourselves. And it's like, at what point in our life are we going to be willing to do the hard things that continue to present ourselves, to continue to be presented to us?
That's so good. A couple of questions in that, like, why aren't we willing to sit with the suck? Why aren't we willing to embrace discomfort and discouragement, disappointment, let down? Why do we have such a hard time embracing that? And because that's a part of life, right?
Yeah.
Kenny and I were talking about, like, God created all these emotions,
Totally.
all these things, not for us to avoid them, but to embrace them.
Yeah.
But why don't we?
Yeah. I think there's a lot, right? Like, there's a lot of different reasons. I mean, like, on the surface, it's uncomfortable. Nobody wants to be sad, right? Like, nobody wants to be disappointed, right? Nobody wants those things.
Pain, right? Yeah.
It doesn't feel good.
Right.
And when we talk about, like, the path of self-sabotage and being willing, like, to go from the mode of being like victim mindset, things are happening to me, this person offended me, this person wronged me, I like all of these things, right? Like, really building up a life and a persona and decisions and friendships and relationships around the reality of you being a victim in whatever case that is.
Right.
For you to make the decision not to be, you have to do two things. Number one, you have to admit that you were wrong and a co-participant somewhere in there.
Right.
Which, like, talk about taking responsibility. Like, that sucks.
Yep.
To look at your life and acknowledge that if it's not the way that you wanted it to be, it's actually primarily your fault more than anybody else's.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's listeners out there that are probably like, screw that. Like, and it's a very jarring thing to say to somebody and acknowledge, because the immediate reaction is going to be defense.
Right.
And why the immediate reaction is defense, because they need to defend the status quo. Because if they don't defend the status quo, the pain of realizing that they actually allowed their life to get here is really, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And you have to look at that and acknowledge that, number one, and be willing to hold that if my life is not the way that I want it to be, it is 100%, you know, assuming you're an adult, it is 100% because of my choices or my lack of choices.
Period.
100% period.
And you got to start there.
The second thing you need to be willing to do is to burn the boats and make new decisions moving forward. And that can be scary if you have, for instance, a spouse who's not willing to grow with you.
Right.
Or a passion that you want to pursue that would blow up your life.
Right.
Because, oh, wow, well, this would take me out of the state of Michigan. And what about my family? They need me. My spouse needs me. So I have to stay small. I have to stay in this space because me pursuing what I know for myself would blow everything up around me. And for you to actually do that, you have to be willing to either your life has to be willing to evolve with you, which takes a little bit longer, or you have to be willing to leave it.
Wow.
Let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's deep. And that's, like you said, so hard for people to do, because I feel like human nature, we want to blame everybody else and not take responsibility.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, you know, even for me, right? Like, I'll be 42 in a month. It's crazy because I remember just being 36, like consciously in a moment where I'm like, man, I'm like 4 years away from 40. And now that's like 6 years ago. And it went by so fast. And in 6 years, I'll be 48, which is like, I always thought 50 years old, you're like over the hill and it's over.
Oh my gosh,
right?
I know. 40 is the new 30.
It really is. Though.
It has to be.
It is. No, it is for sure. And yet at the same time, I think it was just yesterday, I'm looking at my life, and on the outside, for many people from where I came from, like, think I've done pretty good, right? Like,
totally.
from
Absolutely.
But yet at the same time, I'm not, and I've struggled with this because you and I have coached through this often, is like, I'm not really satisfied with where I am, because at this age, I created a perception or an idea of where I wanted to be and where I think I should be at this time in my life, to where I had to say, I'm exactly where I am based on decisions I've made. And that is a tough pill to swallow. And again, not that I'm like at this bad place, but I'm definitely not where I want to be. So obviously that could be two things, right? That could be, well, what are you missing where you are now to be satisfied and fulfilled? And then why do you feel like you need more? because then what that does to me is it doesn't allow me to feel fulfilled. It doesn't allow me to feel satisfied because I'm always striving for more.
Yeah.
And is there ever enough, you know? And you and I've worked through this and talked through this a few times. And yet, although I think I've found moments of satisfaction and fulfillment in what I'm doing, yet I still feel like, man, I'm nowhere near where I really want to be.
Yeah. Well, it's fleeting and it's tough because like we're in an industry, by the way, that glamorizes like achievement, pursuing, you know, like the world is, you know, the awards you got, the money you make, that like, and I think that there is something exciting about that. Like there is a piece of life where it's like, this is cool. This is awesome that we get to do these things. The challenge is, I think that as a society, as an industry, not just the industry, but it's like
just in general,
we've put a disproportionate amount of importance on the things we're chasing. And the challenge is when we get there, when we experience it, right? Like when we have the thing, we've also created an opportunity to lose the thing.
Right.
When there's something outside of us that we want that we don't have, and then we get it, our biggest fear is losing it.
Right.
So what if we took the shine off of the thing we wanted?
Right.
What if we took the shine off of it and we're like, hey, if I drive a Ferrari one day, that's cool. But if I don't drive a Ferrari one day, that's cool.
Yeah.
It'd be cool. It'd be a cool experience, but I'm not going to make my life joy dependent on getting the Ferrari because that is way too volatile for me to hang my hat on. Me hanging my hat on whether or not I hit 50 million is way too freaking volatile for my life satisfaction. It would be cool. It would be nice. It would unlock some doors. But the challenge is if I put that on the pedestal, that means I have to also put the absence of on a pedestal, which makes it feel really, really heavy. And so where we see this come in, where it might be easier to understand is like, okay, so for those of you who like maybe follow me, I'm getting into YouTube. Okay. And so I've been working with Adam. And people on YouTube are so mean.
They are.
Like their comments are so mean.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny because I kind of exist in this world on social media within GloverU where it's like a little bit of an echo chamber. People are like, oh, Kate Simon, we love you. But like, you know, and I'm sure there's some people that are like, screw her. And that's fine.
But they're never saying it to you.
But they're never saying it to you. And also like, I'm very aware that I live in this like bubble of Kate Simon. But nobody cares about that on YouTube.
Yeah. And outside of that bubble, nobody knows.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't care what you've done. They're like, wow. Like somebody said, and I was like messaging Adam. I was like, somebody was like, wow, your makeup you look ridiculous. And I was like, damn, you know? And I was like, people are so ruthless and so mean. And I was like, I just don't even want to look at these comments anymore. And I was talking to Nick Belmore. I was like, I don't even want to do YouTube anymore, you know, but it's like, couple things on that, right? Like when you make the decision to speak, to coach, to like be a thought leader, if you will.
And to put yourself out in front of people.
You have to accept both. You have to accept that some people are going to love you.
Yep.
Some people are going to be indifferent, but also some people are going to hate you.
Yeah.
And if you can't handle both, don't do it.
Yeah.
If you can't handle the fact that when you get the Ferrari, you could lose the Ferrari, don't do it. And so it's sort of like if you put the praise on a pedestal, you are going to be a slave to the criticism. Yeah. You have to put that on a pedestal.
Yeah, you got to put them both.
So if you're going to outsource your worth to you tell me I'm amazing, I feel amazing, which by the way, it always feels good, right? Yeah. Like if you tell me I'm great, I'm going to believe it and I'm going to drive down the freeway and be the happiest person on the planet. But if I come in here and you tell me I'm the worst, I have to hold just as much space for that.
Right.
And so it's not a matter of constantly pursuing the things that feel good. It's a matter of buffering it, understanding that it's an experience just like failure. And how do we stay in the middle so that when we get compliments, we don't get high, and when we get criticism, we don't get low.
Right.
We have to buffer what we choose to believe and play into as our reality. And that also means buffering the praise.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if I can say, whatever, that's a jerk off, he doesn't like my makeup and whatever, I have to equally be able to say, whatever, Justin loves everybody. You know, I have to be able to say both.
Right.
And so I think it's getting comfortable with understanding what's the opposite of the thing that you're chasing and can you live with that?
Yeah.
Because both are going to exist.
Right. That's good. And I think, again, as human nature goes, we don't like the resistance. We don't like the pain. We don't like the discomfort. We like the positive comments. We don't like the negative comments. And so it's that process of getting there. And how do you get there? Like how does one that's listening right now get to that place where they can accept both or find meaning in, let's say, the process and not the thing?
Yeah.
Because like you said, if you're putting what your happiness, your desire, your fulfillment in getting this, like the 50 million, but you fall short at 40's pretty darn good too.
But in your mind, you failed.
But if in your mind you failed, then you're missing out on what 40 can actually do for
100%.
you. And how it, how do you get there? Like, how do you make that decision to just be?
Yeah. I think it's okay. So I think I told you this, but I've been studying Stoicism. Mm-hmm. So Ryan Holiday, I'm obsessed with anything and everything. I listen to his podcast as much as I can. I read his books as much as I can. And really it comes down to managing our thoughts, managing our emotions and reactions to things, both on the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And
the balance of both.
It's the balance of both, but it becomes like a choice to go within and choose to seek the best in yourself, independent of who's witnessing it, both on the good side and the bad side. Because people can witness our greatness and people can witness our flaws.
Right.
Again, what glasses are they wearing, right? Like to some people, I'm the best coach on the planet, best speaker. And to others, I'm the freaking devil, right? And is that true? I'm the same human. And my makeup sucks, right?
Yeah.
But I'm the same human.
Right.
So what is the disparity between somebody who experiences me as an individual who has changed their life versus somebody who is cursing my name and says I'm the worst human being on the planet? What is the experience there? And it's their choice on what to see and what to experience. But I can't be a slave to that. So I have to be dedicated and committed to finding the thing within myself that constantly looks for it, which is validation, which is worth, and work on that.
Yeah.
So I ask the question of what am I looking for out there? What do I need in here?
Right.
So it's a constant process. And this could even be when I experience praise and, oh my goodness, this feels so good. What am I looking for out here? What do I need in here? Or when I'm experiencing criticism, oh gosh, what was I looking for?
Right.
Praise. What does it feel like when I don't get it? And why am I giving somebody else the power to give or take that?
Right.
And what do I need to do for myself to get there? And so a lot of that is like your deep self work. So there's a journal, by the way. I recommend this to everybody.
Yeah.
It's called the Shadow Work Journal. Mm-hmm. Amazon, I don't know, it's $12.
Yeah. And
it's like a journal prompt and it asks you shadow work questions. And so shadow work is like, it's a psychological like sub chapter of self-work. And it's basically, it helps you peek behind the scary doors and really just ask yourself in the privacy of your own home. Nobody has to read it. Like, what are those things? Like, what is the audience you're performing for? Who do you hope sees this? Yeah. What happens if they don't, right?
And so Shadow Work Journal?
Yeah, it's called Shadow Work Journal. And it's just illuminating, right? Like, here's the thing. Everything that we're talking about right now is very much the human experience. It's never going to go away, right? At every single level you're at, I'm at, whoever is at, we are all going to experience this in our own field, in our own way.
Yeah.
We are never going to escape the human experience. The best we can do is observe it, know that it's there, pause, and then decide what we want to do when we're experiencing it. Does that make sense?
That's so good.
What do you think? What's going through your head?
What's going through my head is accepting the fact that it's all the human experience. Because for me, I struggle with, I'm that. Like, I want everything to be good. I want everything to be comfortable. Like, like right now, I'm in immense pain in my back and all I can focus on is this pain. And yet, I want to be like, I'm thinking to myself, how can I get rid of this pain? Yet at the same time, life is full of pain. Life is full of good times. Life is full of joy. Life is full of discouragement. And I was actually riding with my buddy yesterday and I was kind of sharing, some of these struggles or things where he says, congratulations, you're human. Like, this is life, right? And yet for me, and I've struggled with this, is like, I want everything to be comfortable. I want everything to be perfect. I don't want pain. I don't want, and then when things pop up that I can't control or are discomfortable or, painful or whatever, like I'm doing everything I can to try to get out of that, to get back to feeling comfortable or, not feeling discomfort or pain.
Yeah.
And so for me, it goes, and it's not always just physical, but like you just said, like this is the human experience. Life is full of all of these experiences. And yet I think, like you said, we live in a culture and a time where we don't like to sit in that, and we're always looking for a way out of that. And I think that's the thing I struggle with, is really just getting to that point of just embracing the suck, like you said, because I think when you do, then it begins to empower you. Then you don't have to focus on, all right, what do I need to do to change this? It's learning how to operate through it and still show up and even still be able to find peace or joy or happiness or fulfillment, even when things aren't going the way you want them to, or even when things aren't happening the same way that you want them to. You know what I mean? Like, because, we all want things to go a certain way. And when they don't, or at least for me, I'm like, it kind of messes my mindset, my state of mind or my mindset up to where it throws me off.
Yeah. And by the way, this is like part of the reason why I've dove so deep into Stoicism, because same, right? Like recovering control freak and it doesn't always go my way. Right.
Yeah.
But I think it's like sitting with the reality that you actually can't control any of it. And even the things you think you're controlling, you're not.
Right.
Right. And I will say this, like, as a side note, physical pain is very, very hard to mentally and physically deal with. Right. In fact, like, I don't know. I mean, I would almost rather have any other form of pain than physical pain.
Physical pain's tough.
Physical pain's very tough because it's actually distracting. Like you can't, it's very hard to like go forward when you're physically in pain. And I experienced it with both my pregnancies. I was in so much physical pain that like the energy it showed up just to like be a positive person on a coaching call. It was like, this is all I got, like for what I have. Right. And it's not so much about wishing away the physical pain, although yes, you want to alleviate the physical pain because it's mentally taxing. But what it highlighted to me is like, oh my goodness, all the times I was pain-free and healthy, I just took for granted.
Wow,
all the time I can just get up and walk out of here without my back aching. I just took for granted.
Right.
And really, it didn't highlight to me, I want to get over the pain. What it highlighted to me is when I'm pain-free, I want to really embrace it and enjoy it. When I'm at the gym and I'm not in pain, I want to push it.
Yeah.
Because there are some people there that are recovering from injuries or might never walk again or this, that. And like, what? I just don't want to do 3 more reps.
Right.
Because I'm tired.
Right.
Like, appreciate it. Right.
And that goes back to perception.
Yeah.
Like you said. Yeah, that's good. Because what I've found is, at least as of late, is like, I know my pain's temporary because this happens probably once every year and a half.
Yeah.
But there's people who live in constant pain every day.
I know.
Right? Like being able to even pray for them and have compassion and at the same time be grateful that this isn't permanent.
Totally.
And I love what you said, is appreciating the times that you're not in pain or you're not experiencing something, because like you said, you have to embrace both.
You have to.
Because things are going to happen.
The most like neutral concept around good things, bad things that I think like we can come back to, like the word that's going through my head is impermanence. And the thing that we have to accept is that every single thing that's great and perfect in our life is impermanent. Every single thing that's hard and challenging and painful in our life is impermanent.
Right.
And so just like your back pain is going to hopefully resolve and in a week you're going to be back to running your 5Ks and you're not even going to be thinking about it.
I won't even remember it yet.
Right? But we also have to understand that the good days are also impermanent. And like in parenting, it's really interesting. Like the chapter of parenting I'm in, it's become such an interesting mindfulness activity because there's so many nights where by 8:39, Scarlett's whipping Nora with a pool noodle. I'm just like, oh my God, like I can't do it. Like I'm tapping out. I can't do it anymore.
Right.
And then my second thought is, in 5 years and 10 years, they're going to be off with their friends and it's going to be a quiet home and I'm going to miss this.
You're going to miss this. Yeah.
And so so to answer your question of like, how do you, it's like, you're going to have the human experience. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to have the pain. Try to buffer it with what's the opposite of this experience that I'm inevitably going to have at some point.
And you need to do that from a conscious level.
Conscious.
Because subconscious, unless you're choosing to even in that moment, I could even see you when you were saying it, you stopped to pause at that moment and say, and you had that it, like, I think, 5 years from now, this is going to be different. So in that moment, you were able to make a conscious decision to then change your perception and even your attitude around the moment. And I can see how you could do that.
Honor both, right? Like, I am
both.
frustrated. I am tired. I do want to go to bed. And
It's
I can still hold
it's not
space.
a but, it's an and for sure.
Right. Like, I'm cuddling on the couch with my 2 toddlers, and like, my biggest frustration is they both want to be on top of me.
Versus one day you're going to wish.
Versus your daughter's in Arizona.
And they're gone. Yeah.
So like,
it changes everything.
And so it's important that like, it's honor where you're at, but understand impermanence and understand that like there is an equal and opposing reality that the pendulum will swing to. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, that's good. And so if you're listening right now, I would highly take that away, right? Like, in a moment where you find yourself in pain, or in a moment where you're frustrated, in a moment where things aren't working out, look at the opposite, right? Or try to find something that you can tie into that. And that's, again, what I've done is like, yeah, I'm in pain. This sucks. And at the same time, this isn't permanent. And like you said, sooner or later, I'm going to get over this. It usually lasts about a week, and then boom, I keep moving. But yet there's some people that are out there who experience pain, who they would trade their level of pain with mine any day.
Totally.
So that really does kind of help to navigate through it. Because you're going to have to, I can't flip a switch and have my back pain go away. Sometimes you can't flip a switch and have your situation go away. But what can you do to help you through it? And that's what I heard you say. That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I always love having you on, Kate.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would want to say or share to encourage maybe those that are listening right now, or something that you could leave everybody with?
I think, and I don't know like who this is for, but like one of the things that I'm really working on personally with myself is the like tendency to just continue to stay curious, right? Like one of like the personal, I would say, stumbling blocks of mine is judgment, right? Like it's typically, if something like doesn't go the way I thought it was going to go, judgment, not curiosity, right? And judgment keeps us stuck in who's good, bad, right, or wrong. And it really limits the 360 awareness of like, there are multiple realities happening at the same time for this one situation. Which one am I focusing on and why? More specifically, why am I not choosing to be curious over here? And so practicing curiosity, for me, looks like when I have the judgmental thought or when I have the judgmental reaction, that's fine. It might be valid. I want to hold space for it, but I have to also hold the curious one. I have to also look at, what's an alternate thing here that I am currently unwilling to see or unwilling to experience? Now, I might hold space for that and be like, no, screw that. I still want to be judgmental, but that's a choice that I'm making on one sliver of reality. And so if there's anybody out there who, is kind of locked into their perception of life, which I have been for years in a lot of different ways, it's just really practicing that curiosity of what else could this look like? Some of the questions I ask myself is, what is my current belief around this situation? Is that belief serving me? Like, does it feel good or does it not feel good? And what would a belief be that does feel good and empowering? Wow. And what is holding me back from having that?
Right.
What is holding me back from seeing the best in people that I'm choosing to see the worst in?
Right.
What is that? Right. And just get curious about that, because when you can stay curious about the dynamics of your thoughts without deciding, you get to really see what's there and what's keeping you stuck.
That's good. Because again, you're giving yourself options.
Yeah.
You're not staying in this one path, one thing, where you've been for so long. Again, because we usually stay there subconsciously. We don't even realize what we're really doing. We're just doing it because we've been doing it so long.
You said something really important.
Say it. Go
you
ahead.
said options.
Yeah.
And when we vacillate from judgment to curiosity, or taking an experience we have in forcing ourselves to see the equal opposing view, but we still want to stay here, that's where your ownership and choice comes in.
Right.
But when you're only willing to see this, this is where victimhood sets in, and you're like, well, this is the reality.
Right.
No, that's one reality.
Right.
And if you're unwilling to look at the others, what you're doing intentionally or not, you are choosing to stay there. So this is where personal choice.
Because once it's conscious, that's a choice. If it's subconscious and you just have been stuck here for so long, you don't really know it. But when you give yourself options and you still choose that specific path, now you have to take full responsibility.
You're walking on it.
You have to,
right? And if you don't like that road, you have to acknowledge there was another one that you saw, but you want to walk that one. And so if there's a nugget, like you said, it's what would practicing curiosity on a regular basis look like? What are you currently holding a strong judgment on?
Yeah.
What is that path? How does that feel? And is there an alternate belief? You can still choose to believe what you want, right? But if you're acknowledging that there's other beliefs, now it's a choice. You're not stuck.
And you may find that the other choices or options is what you really want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be.
That's good.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to connect with you, Kate, maybe real estate agent or just somebody that would just love to connect with you, follow your YouTube page, how can people find you?
If you follow my YouTube, please leave nice comments. It's Coach Kate Simon on YouTube.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of leadership material. There is some personal development, but it's mostly personal development underneath the umbrella of leadership.
Yeah.
And then Coach Kate Simon is my Instagram, and you can slide into my DMs if you want.
Slide on
Follow
in.
me.
Follow her.
And yeah, there's some, there's leadership stuff on there, and then there's just like behind the curtain of like my life. So,
yeah. And if you decide to follow Kate, which I highly recommend, you're going to definitely get value from the things that you share.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you.
Thanks
for being the first person to be on for the third time.
Three-peat.
We'll have to go for the 4-peat soon.
I'm looking forward to it.
And I'm not going to wait a year and a half to have you on next time, because I think this stuff is so good. And what's awesome is our conversation was very similar to what Kenny and I's conversation was. And this needs to be talked about, because there's a lot of people listening right now that this is speaking to, and people are looking for a way out.
Yeah.
So that's good. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Always
I hope
love
you feel
having
better.
you. Thank you. Guys, what a great episode. I highly recommend go subscribe to Kate's YouTube page. Follow her on Instagram. No bad makeup comments. Because if we find out you're leaving bad makeup comments, you can't listen to the show anymore.
We'll find you.
We will find you. Feel free to subscribe here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Feel free to share this episode with someone that you know. Feel free to follow me on social media at the official Justin Ford. And guys, we always love you tuning in. Thank you for your support and just for listening every week. Before I let you go, I do want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by our friends over at Nextdoor Lending. Nextdoor Lending is not just a sponsor on the show. This is our personal lender. We personally, recommend all of our buyers at the Justin Ford Real Estate Team to work with Nextdoor Lending. Nextdoor Lending has over 1,000 5-star reviews, a perfect A+ Better Business Bureau rating. And so if you are a buyer looking to purchase a home this year, call my friends over at Nextdoor Lending. If you are a homeowner and you want to refinance, maybe lower your interest rate, call my friends over at Nextdoor Lending. And if you are a real estate professional looking to partner with a great mortgage lender, call my friends over at Nextdoor Lending today at 888-885-3667 or visit their website at nextdoorlending.com. 2 things that I always like to leave you with. Number 1, it's not how you start. What matters is how you finish. And number 2, with God, all things are possible. God bless you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.